He wouldn't move from the baby's side, not for food, not for water. Not even when the family begged, pleaded, and tried everything they could to get him to leave. At first, they thought it was cute, then strange, then frightening. And when they finally discovered the reason, what they learned broke their hearts forever. The story begins on a quiet Sunday morning in the Harper household, where 8-month-old baby Noah slept peacefully in his crib, surrounded by soft blankets and sunlight spilling through the curtains. And right there, pressed against the crib legs, refusing to blink, refusing to rest, refusing to move even an inch, was Max, the family's 3-year-old golden retriever. Max was gentle, sweet, playful. The kind of dog who'd wag his tail even when he was scolded. But lately he had changed. Slowly at first, then all at once. It started with small things. Max ignoring his toys, Max losing interest in treats, Max following baby Noah more closely than usual. But within days, his behavior escalated into something the family had never seen in him before. He wouldn't leave the baby alone. He guarded Noah's crib with a focus so intense it frightened them. If anyone, mother, father, grandmother, came near the baby while he was sleeping, Max would step between them, eyes wide, breathing heavy, tail low, ears stiff. Not aggressive, but terrified. Like he was begging them to stay back. Like he was trying to warn them. At night, he slept right beside the crib. During the day, he followed Noah's bouncer like a shadow. If the baby was moved, Max moved. If the baby cried, Max trembled. If the baby slept, Max stared at him like he feared something invisible. It made no sense. "Noah is fine," his mother Emily kept saying. "He's eating, sleeping, laughing. What is Max seeing?" But Max kept acting stranger and stranger. One night, Noah woke up crying softly. Not loud cries, just weak, breathless whimpers. Emily lifted him, rocked him gently, kissed his forehead, but Max reacted violently, not towards Emily, but towards her movement. He pushed his big, furry head under Noah's body and whined so loudly it startled her. "Max, stop! What are you doing?" He wouldn't stop. He stayed pressed to the baby like glue, trembling all over. Emily exchanged a worried look with her husband Daniel. Maybe he's jealous. Maybe he wants attention. But Daniel shook his head. No, this is something else. The next morning, Noah seemed tired. Not sick, just tired. His eyes were droopy. He wasn't smiling as easily. His little fingers curled weakly around Emily's thumb instead of grabbing with his usual enthusiasm. But babies had slow days, she told herself. Babies weren't always energetic. Yet Max didn't agree. He paced, he whined, he nudged Noah constantly as if checking on him every few seconds. And every time the baby drifted off to sleep, Max pressed his ear against his tiny chest, listening, breathing fast. By evening, Max refused to eat. He sat by the crib instead, staring, panting, his entire body tense. "Okay, something is wrong with him," Daniel muttered, grabbing the dog bowl. "He hasn't eaten since morning." But when Daniel tried to move Max away from the crib, Max growled, a sound so soft but so desperate it sent cold chills through them. "Max, buddy, what's going on?" Max's eyes glistened with fear. Fear, not aggression, not protectiveness. Fear. That night, Max barked 3 separate times, loud, sharp, frantic barks that woke the whole house. Emily rushed into the nursery, terrified. "What is it? What's wrong?" Max was pawing the crib, eyes wide, ears pinned back. Noah lay inside, unusually still. Too still. Emily's heart raced. Noah. She picked him up. His skin felt cooler than usual. His breathing was soft, shallow, almost like he was tired beyond what a baby should ever feel. Max paced in circles, barking, scratching the floor, running to the door, then back to her, as if trying to drag her out of the room. "Daniel, something's wrong! Something's wrong with him!" Daniel bolted in, panic filling his chest. They rushed Noah to the living room, turned on the lights, checked his temperature. No fever, no rash, no cough. But his breathing was off, soft, weak, like his tiny lungs were fighting for air. Emily started crying. "What is happening to him? Why is he so quiet?" Max wouldn't stop barking. High, sharp, urgent barks they had never heard from him in 3 years. Until that night, they had thought he was overreacting. Now they realized he had been trying to warn them all along. They raced Noah to the hospital. Max tried to jump into the car. He tried to wedge himself between Noah's car seat and the door. He didn't want to stay behind. He didn't want to lose sight of the baby. When the nurses took Noah from Emily's arms in the emergency room, Max howled. A heartbreaking sound. A sound like something inside him broke. Emily sat shaking. Daniel held her, but his own hands trembled uncontrollably. The doctor came out minutes later, serious, fast-paced, his tone urgent. "We need to run tests immediately." Emily's stomach dropped. "What's wrong? What's happening to my baby?" His voice softened. "Your baby's oxygen levels are dangerously low, very low. He's been struggling to breathe for several hours, maybe longer." Emily choked. What? But he wasn't coughing. He wasn't... "Some issues don't show obvious symptoms," the doctor said gently. "It looks like he might have early onset infant respiratory distress. In some cases, babies don't cry loudly. They don't cough. They just get tired." Emily fell into Daniel's arms, sobbing. I didn't know he was struggling." The doctor continued. "If you had waited even another hour or two, I don't know if he would have made it." Emily's sobs grew louder. Daniel buried his face in his hands. The world blurred, but one thing kept echoing in their minds. Max knew. He knew before they did. He knew before the doctors did. Hours passed in the hospital waiting room. Emily clutched Noah's little blanket, tears soaking the fabric. Daniel paced back and forth, replaying every moment of the last 2 days. Max's behavior, Max's fear, Max refusing to move from the baby's crib. "He was trying to tell us," Emily whispered. "Oh God, he was trying to tell us." They blamed themselves. They felt guilt heavier than anything they had ever known. At 3:11 a.m., the doctor finally came out. "Your baby is stable. He's responding to treatment." Emily collapsed in relief, hands covering her face. Daniel pulled her into his arms. "Thank you. Thank you." But the doctor wasn't done. He sat beside them and said, "The only reason he's here right now is because you brought him in exactly when you did. Another hour, maybe less, and the outcome could have been very different." Emily's tears fell silently, Daniel whispered. "It was the dog. It was Max." The doctor nodded. "I've seen stories like this before. Animals sense things we don't." They returned home the next morning, exhausted, shattered, grateful. When Max saw Noah in Emily's arms, he whimpered and pressed his head against the baby gently, as if checking him again. When Noah let out a tiny laugh, weak but real, Max let out a long, emotional sigh. Emily knelt down and wrapped her arms around Max's neck, crying into his fur. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't listen. I didn't understand." You were saving him, and we didn't see it. I'm so sorry." Max licked her cheek softly, forgiving her instantly. But the guilt inside her never fully left. Because she knew, deep in her bones, that her baby could have died right in front of her. And she wouldn't have known. But Max did. Later that week, the doctors explained the full diagnosis. Noah had a rare respiratory condition that made it hard for his lungs to function properly at night. It was silent, invisible, hard to detect early. Babies with this condition often show almost no symptoms until they collapse. And the only reason he didn't collapse was because a dog refused to move. A dog who went without sleep. A dog who refused to eat. A dog who stayed up for hours staring at a baby's chest, sensing something no human could sense. A dog whose heart broke long before the families did. A dog who knew the truth before anyone else. From that day forward, Max's bed was placed right beside the crib, not as a privilege, but as an honor, as gratitude, as proof that sometimes angels don't have wings. Sometimes they have fur. Sometimes they break before we do, because they can feel what we can't. Sometimes the ones we misunderstand are the ones trying to save us.